Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Prajjana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajjana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivedikacharya Ashotra Shatashi Srimadhasvangasi A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Granta Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Hare Krishna. Jai. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Fourth Canto, Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 24, chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva, Text 7. Tatrapi hamsam purusham paramanam atmadrik yajams taloka tam apa Kushalena samadhina tatrapi hamsam purusham paramatmanam atmadrik yajamsto lokatam apa Kushalena samadhina Tapi hamsam purusham paramatmanamatmadrik yajamsto lokatam apa kushalena samadhina. Tatrapi, despite his engagement, hamsam, one who kills the distress of his kinsmen, purusham, under the Supreme Person, parama atmanam, the most beloved Supersoul, atmadrik, one who has seen or acquired self-realization, yajan, by worshipping, tat lokatam, achieved the same planet, apa, achieved, kushalena, very easily, samadhina, always keeping himself in ecstasy. Okay, translation. Although Maharaj Antardana was engaged in performing sacrifices, because he was a self-realized soul, he very intelligently rendered devotional service to the Lord, who eradicates all the fear of his devotees. By thus worshipping the Supreme Lord, Maharaj Antardana, wrapped in ecstasy, attained his planet very easily. Purport. Since sacrifices are generally performed by fruitive actors, it is especially mentioned here, Tatrapi, that although Maharaj Antardana was externally engaged in performing sacrifices, his real business is rendering devotional service by hearing and chanting. In other words, he was performing the usual sacrifices by the method of Sankirtan Yagya, as recommended herein. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Saktam, Atmanivedanam, Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, Text 23. Devotional service is called Kirtan Yagya, and by practicing the Sankirtan Yagya, one is very easily elevated to the planet where the Supreme Lord resides. Out of the 5 kinds of liberations, achieving the same planet where the Lord resides and living with the Lord there is called Salokya liberation. So I'll just read a few more. Havirdana Davirdani Dorasutasat Sutan Barhishadam Kayam Shuklam Krishnam Satyam Jita Vratam. Havirdana, the son of Maharaj Antardana, had a wife named Havirdani, who gave birth to 6 sons, named Barhishat, Gaya, Shukla, Krishna, Satya, Jitavrata, and Jitavrata. Barhishat Sumahabhago Havirdani Prajapati Kriyakandeshu Nishnato Yogeshu Chakurodvaha. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, Havirdana's very powerful son named Barhishat was very expert in performing various kinds of fruitive sacrifices, and he was also expert in the practice of mystic yoga. By his great qualifications, he became known as Prajapati. Purport. In the beginning of the creation, there were not many living entities, and consequently the very powerful living entities or demigods were appointed as Prajapatis in order to beget children and increase the population. There are many Prajapatis. Brahma, Daksha, and Manu are sometimes known as Prajapatis, and Barhishat, the son of Havirdhana, became one of them. One more. Yasyadam deva yajanam anuyagam gyam vitan vataha prachinagar kushar asid ashtritam vasudatalam. Maharaj Barhishat executed many sacrifices all over the world. He scattered kusha grasses and kept the tops of the grasses pointed eastward. Purport. As stated in the previous verse, Kriya Kandeshu Nishnata, Maharaj Barhishat dived very deeply into the fruitive activities of sacrifice. This means that as soon as he finished one yajna in one place, he began performing another yajna in the immediate vicinity. At the present moment, there is a similar need to perform Sankirtan yajna all over the world. Krishna conscious movement has started performing Sankirtan yajna in different places, and it has been experienced that wherever Sankirtan yajna is performed, many thousands of people gather and take part in it. Imperceptibly, auspiciousness achieved in this connection should be continued all over the world. The members of the Krishna conscious movement should perform Sankirtan yajnas one after another, so much so that all the people of the world will either jokingly or seriously chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and thus they will derive the benefit of cleansing the heart. The holy name of the Lord, Hare Nama, is so powerful that whether it is chanted jokingly or seriously, the effect of vibrating this transcendental sound will be equally distributed. It is not possible at the present moment to perform repeated yajnas as Maharaj Barhishat performed, but it is within our means to perform Sankirtan yajna, which does not cost anything. One can sit down anywhere and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Period. If the surface of the globe is overflooded with the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, the people of the world will be very, very happy. Om Jnani Tipadandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulan Militam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karidvachalam Pangam Nangayate Girim Yakripa Tamaham Vande Shigurun Dinitarinam Vanchaka Buddhibhisha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. In the first purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions the 9 processes of devotional service: Shavanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasu, Sakyam, Atmanavedanam. That's in the 7th canto, 5th chapter, 23rd verse, 24th verse. It's a very long purport, actually. It's one of the longest purports in the whole Bhagavatam. It might be the longest, huh? It's the longest? It's very long. I don't know how many pages, maybe 7 pages or something. It seems 9 pages, 10 pages. It seems for every process of devotional service, Prabhupada writes at least a page. It seems. So, so everyone should go over that. Everyone should read that. If it's been a while since they read it, they could read it again, because it's very important, that long purport there. And because, after all, I mean, that's what it means to be a devotee, to engage in devotional service. So to read that purport and understand it is, very important. You could say if somebody was to read that purport and understand it and follow it, that's all you really need to go back to the spiritual world, be successful. and Krishna consciousness. So in that purport, Prabhupada explains that there's different personalities who exemplified, or who were examples of reaching perfection by practicing certain processes of devotional service. And every process has a person there. So, does anyone remember some of them? Who was, for example, Parikshit Maharaj? He was hearing, yes. Kirtan. Shukadev Goswami, yes. What about the lotus feet? Who remember the lotus feet? Lakshmi Devi, okay. Who was the servant? Hanuman. Yes. Who was offering prayers? Akrura. And what else? Who else do we have? Friendship. Vijay, Arjuna. Vijay Prabhu told me that his name also is a name for Arjuna, which I never thought of. I always thought of Jai and Vijay. But so Arjuna, Hanuman, Akrura. What about deity worship? Yes, Prithu Maharaj. All right, so we've covered hearing, chanting, worshiping lotus feet, deity worship. Yes, Prahlad Maharaj, yes. Yes, Bali too. Atmanivedanam, surrender and everything. So you have hearing, Parikshit Maharaj, chanting, Shukadev Goswami, serving the lotus feet, Lakshmi, deity worship, Prahlad Maharaj, prayers, Akrura, Hanuman, service, right? Humble servant of Lord Ram. Akrura, Arjuna, friendship, and then you have Bali, surrender and everything. So, yeah, if we analyze these particular personalities, we see that, yeah, they were definitely expert at what they were doing. Oh, yeah? Who's that? Ambarish Maharaj. Yeah, Ambarish Maharaj, yeah. He was good at everything. So, if we analyze these devotees, they're really expert at what they're doing. Like Parikshit Maharaj, I mean, him listening to the Bhagavatam, he was really focused for 7 days and 7 nights. He was really focused. And Prahlad Maharaj, right, is just remembering Krishna, remembering Vishnu all the time, right? Despite whatever was going on. I mean, a lot of people, sometimes, I don't know, somebody gets a headache, somebody gets a stomach ache, somebody gets sick, and it's, and sometimes it's questionable how much we could remember Krishna, or how people could remember Krishna in just minimal suffering. Therefore, it's advised to practice when we're healthy, our mind and body are healthy. So when the suffering does come in the form of disease, old age, and death, leading up to death, it's easier to remember, or we could remember. So, so all these personalities, if we look at their lives, they're very expert at what the particular devotional service that they stand for. And we can obviously become perfect through any one of them, any one of the processes of devotional service, but specifically Srila Prabhupada is mentioning in the second purport, and throughout his books and throughout the Vedic literature, it's mentioning to chant Hare Krishna, to chant Hare Krishna. And that chanting of Hare Krishna, Prabhupada would make the comment sometimes. He said, our devotees, they could chant 24 hours a day and they won't get sick of it. They won't get tired. They won't feel tired. So, that is the truth. If one is actually chanting, you could say properly, if one's chanting in the right way, in the right mood, then one won't get tired of it. And some may say, well, you have to be pretty advanced not to get tired chanting 24 hours a day. You have to be pretty advanced, which is true. But at least what we could do is we could not get tired of chanting our 16 rounds. We should not feel tired, like, oh, great, I got to chant another 16 rounds. Oh, no. But we should feel enthused. Okay, yeah, chant my 16 rounds. And if we're feeling tired, or, say not enthused on some level to chant our prescribed number of rounds, then, that's not a great sign. And it's a sign that we have to do something that will that will give us the ability or allow us to chant properly, by which doing we won't get tired. And therefore Prabhupada says that and aside from just being tired, because maybe we would hopefully suspect that most devotees aren't tired of chanting their 16 rounds. So if we're not tired of chanting our 16 rounds, then okay, great, that's a good sign. But we should also be, on the flip side, it's not just negative, like, okay, well, I could tolerate this, or I'm used to this, or this is just kind of like my habit, I eat every day, right? So I also chant every day. It's kind of like second nature. But aside from that, or I sleep every day or something, right, or whatever it is. I bathe every day, so I also chant every day. But aside from that, we should also be very enthusiastic to do it. We should look forward to it. It should be something you could say, as we were discussing the other day in the class, about not that, oh, I like preaching, but preaching is my life. So similarly with chanting, it's not that, oh, I like chanting, it's kind of cool, or I could tolerate it, right, for the most part. But it should be our life. That's what we should live for. And never become, you could say, never become too familiar with it. Like, I think I was listening to my spiritual master, and he said that he was, you use your hand, obviously, your right hand to chant, with your beads. And he was saying how one time he hurt his hand, and he had a hard time, he couldn't grab the beads and chant. So then he was feeling, after he got his hand healed, he felt very grateful and thankful they had his right hand, he could hold his beads and chant. So to speak of, sometimes you lose your voice or something, like you really can't speak. You really can't speak. And then if you get your voice back, you can imagine how happy you are to have your voice, so you could chant. I was just thinking of Bhakti Vasudeva Swami. It's kind of interesting story he tells of himself. He was a young brahmachari in Africa, and he was in a car. He was going really fast, or at least going fast enough where he's gotten into an accident as a devotee. And he specifically remembers, okay, if you remember Krishna at the time of death, you go back to Godhead. So then he gets in this horrible crash, and he thinks he's going to die. So he's remembering Krishna. He's chanting really loud, and he's specifically remembering Krishna. So then then all of a sudden he wakes up, and he looks around, and he's still alive. And then the first thought that came to his mind is that, oh, that blue boy cheated me. Krishna cheated me. He said, oh, he didn't take me back to the spiritual. Anyways, it's kind of interesting. But his condition was actually really bad. He could hardly walk, and then eventually he got better. So, anyways, that was a side point. We should be grateful that for the facilities we have. We should be grateful for the facilities we have, and we should use them. I mean, our legs. I mean, it's we take everything for granted sometimes. I mean, it's very important to have legs. I mean, I knew a devotee, that the Radhanath Prabhu didn't have legs, and he gave me my first book. But I mean, it's very difficult not to have legs. So in other words, what I'm getting to is that our legs, our voice, our hand, everything, our whole body, our mind, the energy we have, everything should be utilized to engage, to specifically as a sacrifice for the Sankirtan Yajna. Sacrificing our life, everything, for the spreading of Krishna consciousness. And again, not becoming too familiar that, I know Hare Krishna mantra. I've chanted that before, or I've heard the message of the Bhagavatam before. I read Bhagavad Gita before, but the proof that we've heard it before, and that we've chanted it before, and that we're understanding it, is that we want to do it more. That's the proof. Not that the proof is like, I heard Bhagavad Gita, I heard Bhagavatam, I chanted Hare Krishna, let me do something else. That's not the proof. That means we haven't fully. Just like Rupa Goswami says, right? So many tongues, so many ears, so he could relish, or so he could hear and experience the holy name. So that's you could say, where we want to be, or where we want to get closer to. So whether we are, whatever stage we may be in chanting Hare Krishna, we may be in the stage of, I get tired of chanting. Or we may be in the stage that we don't get tired, we're enthused, but, we may be there. Or we may be in the stage where we're just absolutely enthused. But whatever the stage is, we could try to make more and more progress. Because as Prabhupada said, right, perfection has no limit. Just keep on going. So, what to speak of if we haven't attained perfection? I mean, there's a lot, right? So, therefore, Prabhupada said, in relation to chanting, there are three Vedic literature, there are three stages. There's the offensive stage, there's the clearing stage, and then there's the pure stage of chanting. So, if we're in the offensive stage, then we should get out of that. We should try to get out. And that trying of getting out of the offensive stage is, you could say, the clearing stage, where we're actively trying to get free from the 10 offenses. So that's the first step. That first of all, we should chant, and then understanding that we're chanting offensively, we should try to move towards perfection, which means the clearing stage, trying to actively avoid the 10 offenses. And then eventually we could reach the pure stage of chanting. And that's important because reaching the pure stage of chanting, it really takes care of everything. Like, it will take care of everything in the sense that it will provide what all devotees should be after, and that's love for Krishna, or Krishna. And that's very important, right? Prema Pumarto Mahan, that is the ultimate goal of life. But aside from providing that, it's the best ways of spreading Krishna consciousness as well, which another thing devotees should be interested in, spreading Krishna consciousness. So that pure chanting really takes care of everything. Because the purer one could chant, the more effect it has on the audience. And effect means they don't think, man, that guy has a good voice, or whatever, he's really handsome, or whatever, she has a good voice, she's really attractive, that person really knows how to play that harmonium really nicely. I mean, that's all good and fine, whatever. But But ultimately, it's not, the chanting is not supposed to provide the audience with just some kind of feeling like, oh, I'm feeling very peaceful and cool music, but the chanting is supposed to like inspire people to want to surrender to Krishna. That's what the chanting is supposed to do. And the chanting from somebody who chants, the more sincere the better, it will inspire that. Just like Srila Prabhupada, right? He chanting, and all these people were gathering around him throughout the world, and people were surrendering to Krishna left and right from Prabhupada's chanting. One reason. So that's the value of one of the important aspects of reaching that pure stage, is the value being that we could really help people surrender to Krishna. Will have some effect. Get people's attention. I mean, after all, we want to get people's attention, not so they could, be, so the attention could be drawn to us, but we want to get people's attention so we could, offer them to Krishna's lotus feet, Srimati Radharani Krishna's lotus feet. Or else, how will we? We have to get people's attention. And the more pure one could chant, the more sincere one could be, the more attention one could get, and the more one more could lead people to Prabhupada, lead people to Krishna. I was just thinking of New York Harinam. They have the really great, actually, what they're doing. I guess they've stopped now, but they had to. But for so many years, Roy Ramananda, I think, Ram Roy Prabhu. Satsrup Das Goswami disciple, Ram Roy Prabhu. He spent many years in Vrindavan. He's brahmachari. He spent many years in Vrindavan with Ayendra Prabhu and the 24-hour kirtan, chanting. Then Ayendra Prabhu left the world, and it seems that Ram Roy Prabhu was thinking, okay, well, I could stay in Vrindavan, or what should I do? And I like to talk to him sometimes. I haven't talked to him so much, but he decided, okay, let me go to New York City, the heart of so many people there. Prabhupada, the first place Prabhupada really preached. So he went there, and he set up an ashram, Harinam ashram. Great, wonderful. And every day, for so many hours and hours, every day, from morning till evening, they just chant Hare Krishna. They have harmonium, mridanga, kartals, book table, going on. Every single day. Absolutely amazing. And of course they have some morning program. I don't know what their evening program is at the ashram there, but this is important, and it's gone on for so many years, and many devotees have dedicated some of their time there. He's been there the whole time. But I was thinking that there, when they have different devotees chant, and whatever, this is not anything against any particular devotees chanting, but if some devotees chant, and they have some, especially they have some shakti, they have some power, they have some you could say a lot of sincerity or purity, like senior devotees come, and a lot of the times, New York, everybody's just walking. No one's really paying attention. Some of them are absorbed in their world, right? And then some, Madhava Prabhu goes there, or whatever, Bibi Govinda Swami there. Some devotees like that who, really get into the chanting. And also I heard with Ram Roy also. But when they chant, like a lot of times, you get one or two people, they stop maybe, but when they chant, like a whole huge group, one person stops and they're just kind of like mesmerized, and then another person, and then another person, and you got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, just sitting there, watching them chant, because they have that, focus and intensity. So, and book distribution too. Prabhupada said Brihat Mridanga. You could hear the Mridanga maybe one block, but the Brihat Mridanga you could hear, right, all over the world. Person gets a book in SanDiego, they go to London, they give a book to their friend, they go to South Africa, they give a book, goes all over the world. That doesn't mean we shouldn't do Harinam, but there's emphasis on book distribution as well. But you see, when devotees go out on book distribution, some some of our devotees who've been doing it for many, many years, and like they have a really strong morning program, and they're like really intense, and then they go out, and they can stop people, just raise a finger, and people stop, and they're able to, and then they give them a book, and they take a book, they take them seriously. So people are taking them seriously. Why? Because they're taking the process of devotional service seriously. They're taking the process of chanting the holy name seriously, and therefore people take them seriously. They could sense that. So it's important in that way, and therefore, as we all know, there's 10 offenses, right? The chanting of the holy name, and we won't go through all of them, but the one that you could say from not avoiding one of them, all the other ones have a tendency to sprout up, and that is inattentive, to be inattentive while chanting the holy names. So from that, everything else is born. All the other offenses arise. So, in other words, if we could just focus on being attentive, then we could more easily avoid all the other 10 offenses. And a lot of the offenses are negative. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. But we could have a positive, there's a positive aspect to them. So it means don't do this, right? But you could do this. So don't blaspheme devotees, okay. Then glorify them, serve them. That's the positive. Not just, don't blaspheme devotees, right? They're there, okay, I didn't blaspheme, great. I didn't offend them, great. But aside from blaspheme and offend them, we should serve them and glorify them. Or else it's not complete. Like, you could say, oh, I didn't talk any nonsense today. But, okay, well, did you talk about Krishna? That has to be the positive. So, to disobey the orders of the spiritual master, okay, to obey the orders. And not just obey them, but worship the orders, and not just worship them, but find the means to follow them, to execute them, to worship them and execute them, the orders. To blaspheme the Vedic literature, right? So, okay, I didn't blaspheme, but okay, well, what about reading? What about hearing the Vedic literature? Swadhyayas, to study. The glories of Hare Krishna to be imagination, and there's some, it's other ones. To instruct a faithless person. And in terms of instructing a faithless person, it means that there may be persons who you could say may not have much faith, but they may be pious enough or sincere enough to investigate to some degree the glories of the holy name, and not to have complete faith. This is number 10. So with all of the offenses, there's positives, and that's the idea. We should try to see the positives and avoid the negatives. And in this way, we can actually develop Krishna consciousness, which Krishna consciousness just doesn't mean seeing Krishna in the temple, seeing Krishna in the devotees, but it means seeing Krishna everywhere, right? Everywhere. And as Srila Prabhupada, I'll end on this, as Srila Prabhupada said that, or one time with Mukunda Goswami, Prabhupada was out in San Francisco, and they're going out and into the wild San Francisco streets. I think they're going to some program which Prabhupada was going to speak. And Mukunda Goswami was kind of embarrassed because there's so much just nonsense going on. Like, people are smoking and drinking and just all on drugs and dirty and smelly and San Francisco streets. Mukunda Goswami was embarrassed that he had to bring Prabhupada out. And then Mukunda Goswami said he's trying to kind of break the ice, or and Mukunda Goswami said, "Oh, it's a nice night, huh, Prabhupada?" And then Prabhupada said, "Yes, it is a nice night." He said, Krishna's mercy, Krishna's energy, everywhere. Krishna's everywhere. So Prabhupada was able to see Krishna even in things that, a lot of these yogis and swamis and all these people, they just avoid all that. Just like, so that's the idea, to try to see Krishna within this. And Sankirtan Yagya, chanting the holy names, congregational chanting and dancing, and in this way we're able to get closer to that goal. So does anybody have any questions or comments? Does anyone remember what Prabhupada quotes in that deity worship, in that purport of the Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Pada Sevanam? He discusses deity worship. Prabhupada gives an example of one devotee. Does anyone remember that devotee? Or can anyone guess what example or story he gives to illustrate deity worship? All right, I'll tell you. Briefly. So Prabhupada gives a story of a Brahmin who was in South India by the Godavari River. And this Brahmin, he was very poor, and he attended a Bhagavatam class one day, and he heard that even if you're poor and you can't offer, if you can't even afford a deity, or you can't afford to get your deity anything, then you could worship within your mind. So that's what he did. He Radha Krishna or Lakshmi Narayan, and he did all this elaborate worship, gold and marble and jewels, this and that, and nice preparations he cooked in his mind. And one day it said that he made some sweet rice, and then he was going to check if it was hot or cool. So then he checked it, but then he burned his finger. It's like, burned his finger. And then Lord Vishnu is there, and Vaikuntha and Lakshmi, and so Lord Vishnu saw this, and he started to laugh. And then Lakshmi said, "What are you laughing for?" And then this Brahmin, and then Vishnu, he sent the Vishnu Dutas down to pick him up, and he brought him back to the spiritual world. So that's what Prabhupada quotes in that purport about deity worship. So, all right. Any last? No. What about online? Nothing. Okay. All right. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.